On today's episode 18 of Sculpt N Create, we're tapping into a different kind of journey, one that spans oceans, mountains, ancient sites, and the inner world we often overlook. Our guest is Sara Roccisano, author, international speaker, and the founder of Emboldened Adventures. She's someone whose life reads like a real-world odyssey, from the depths of the ocean to the heights of the mountains to the ancient megalithic sites and everything in between. Sara has answered the call of adventure for over 2 decades. She's explored 43 plus countries, traveled around the world 18 times, and touched more than half the states here in the U.S. But what makes her story powerful ain't just the miles she's logged. It's the personal transformation underneath it all. Several years ago, Sara walked away from a 10-year career in finance and renewable energy, across Wall Street and corporate America, choosing instead to dive headfirst into a spiritual awakening that completely reshaped her life. Through working with wisdom keepers, reconnecting with nature, and following her inner compass, she's become a true way shower, helping others navigate these changing times. She's also got some fire adventure stories, including the time she got into a great white shark cage in southern Australia, while the crew blasted AC/DC and old school Aerosmith to lure sharks closer. Yeah, you heard that right. Rock on, I guess. And she's just getting started. Her first book, Stone Temple Passport, Awake and Radiate with Mama Ayahuasca, a part of the Emboldened Adventures Transformational Series, is set to release in 2026. Today, we're diving into her journey, her insights, and the lessons she picked up from the exploring world, both outside and within. Let's get into it. Welcome to Sculpt N Create, where fitness fuse creativity in helping artists, entertainers, and creators towards their journey in their physical, personal, and career growth. I'm your host, Trea Da Fit Artist, and who I have with me now is Sara Roccisano. She's an author, international speaker, founder of the Emboldened Adventures. Welcome to the show, Sara.
Hi, Trey. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Glad you can make it. So before we begin, just let everybody know where they can find you and who you are and get to know more about you, maybe partaking your services and so forth.
Sure. Well, you can find me on emboldenadventures.com. My name is Sara Roccisano, and as you mentioned, I'm an author, international speaker, way shower, an entrepreneur who's founded this encouragement platform called Emboldened Adventures that inspires personal, professional, and spiritual transformation. And my first book comes out in about a few months. I'm really excited about that. And there's a lot to talk about.
Okay, cool. And I see you got your shirt on, Emboldened Adventures, and in loud and living color. So tell us more about Emboldened Adventures and what do y'all do currently? Or what do you do currently?
Yes, so Emboldened Adventures, as I mentioned, inspires personal, professional, and spiritual transformation. It started out as a passion project, as a travel blog. So I'm a world traveler. I've been to over 43 countries and more than half the states of the United States. And where transformation comes in is my own personal story. I lived about 20 plus years in New York City. I was a career woman. I worked in Wall Street as an investment banker. I worked in private equity. I worked in government. I worked for international companies. And I worked in the renewable energy sector for a long time. And all that required a lot of focus on career and giving up your life for the job. And that equated to burnout and to a lot of toxic work environments and just stress. And as I mentioned, I'm a world traveler. So a lot of where I was able to balance some of that, really intense, hectic life was seeing the world and going scuba diving. So along the way, I hit a bunch of brick walls. I lost my job 3 different times. And at one point I was out of work for 2.5 years. So in those times of job unemployment, I had some spiritual seekings that really enhanced and picked up and turbocharged. So for me, the transformation is more toward authenticity and a connection to self and really putting the emphasis on your, living your true emboldened life and not being beholden to the system. So that's where I come in and inspire people for change.
Okay. All right. So definitely you basically the old adage, one life hands you lemon, you turn it into lemonade and so forth, right? So working in the corporate world and gotten fired 3 times and it really just made a change from there. So, what would you say you was going through your mind when you was losing your job and so forth? What was the big change in saying I'm just gonna get out there and then start doing my own thing and start traveling and do this and do that, and like I said, the hell with the corporate world.
Yeah, well, that took a long time to get to that point where I surrendered and quit it all. That really happened when I hit the brick wall in 2022. But leading up to, it was fits and starts with constantly trying to go back into the system and try again, get another job and keep persevering in a career that, ultimately ended up being, really hard, really a lot of struggle, a lot of, as I
Mm,
mentioned, toxic work environments. And so for me, like, I think I learned a lot in those times of struggle, resilience, sense of self, self advocacy, and really challenging what it is you want to do with your life ultimately. So for me, like a lot of where I find joy is helping others and discovering new things and seeking spiritually. So I go on these adventures to ancient megalithic places such as Machu Picchu and Easter Island and Tiwanaku, which is in Bolivia, and Lake Titicaca, and Chichen Itza in Mexico, for example. And there's a lot of work I do with wisdom keepers, indigenous shamans and priestesses and monks and the like. So for me, I'm evolving and learning and growing spiritually, which is so rewarding. And I'm learning now about the importance of abundance and the importance of not having to worry about being beholden to the system, because once you break free, you can see that the sky's the limit and there's infinite possibility. And it sounds woo woo, but I'm here to kind of bridge that gap to say this is actionable for sure.
right. Definitely. Two things you said. You said it sounds Lulu, and you said break free. Usually when people go into with starting their own thing or somebody starting their own thing, everybody think they crazy first and foremost. And some people may have those dreams or desires or had those dreams and desires to break free from whatever monotonous job that they came across or currently working at. So can you talk about that? So tell how can a person that's working a 9 to 5 that they hate, they dread going to every day, hate getting up because they know they basically dread the next day and it ain't even came yet. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Where, they have a dreams or had dreams before and so forth. How can they break free from going out for their dreams and so forth? Because the basically the stance is I gotta pay these bills and I got a family and a little bit of fear, like what would people think of me and so forth and everything. So how can they break free from all that?
There's so much there, Trey, in that question. And there's pretty much the answer in that question as well. And
Okay.
yes, it sounds like, oh, yeah, pie in the sky. I could just quit my job and like be happy, right? Yeah, bullshit.
Hmm.
Well, it's a process and you have to hit that point for yourself. I can't say you could do it. You have to decide you can do it. And it comes a point where you realize that your happiness matters because you're saying the word fear, stuck, hate, right? All these
Hmm.
negative, low vibe sort of feelings. And that keeps you trapped. It keeps you entrapped. It keeps you stuck because you feel like you have no power. You're disempowered rather than being empowered. And life's about experiences and life's about being happy ultimately at the end of the day. That's all we want. We want love and we want happiness and we want safety and security. And once we have those needs met, then we want to be adventurous and we want to be our own hero in our life story. So if it feels as if you're stuck and this life is just keeps repeating, right, over and over, 9 to 5, got to get up and do it again, that grind, and if
Hmm.
something just within isn't sitting right with you, I'd say listen to that feeling because that's your inner self, that's your higher power saying, you know what, I demand more. My value is important and I can discover things that make me happy. It's giving yourself permission to be happy and to start seeking. So it doesn't just happen overnight where I'm going to quit my job and that's it. And, life's going to change for the better, right? It takes time, it takes courage, it takes
For
bravery,
sure.
and it takes trial and error in some ways. So as I said, I supplemented that sort of burnout, toxic experience for 20 plus years. But I did find the joy through travel. That was my own personal, thing I looked forward to. Getting to the ocean, connecting to the nature, seeing the mountains, going to places that I were just a dream and I decided I was going to persevere. But I didn't quit my job when I was traveling, but I did hit the breaking point when I felt like I had no choice but at that point. And so when I did walk away finally, I still had the mortgage. I still lived in New York City. I wasn't making a paycheck. But at that point, I had lost my job 3 times prior. So I knew what it was like to be out of work. I knew what it's like to hustle. I knew what it was like to advocate. So I built up to that point of taking a risk on myself without a real plan. And then once I did finally, I let the opportunity unfold for me. I declared I was going to write a book, but I didn't have any action on how. And here I am now telling you that the book's ready to come out. So the process you discover it as you go and you leverage all your skills that you've cultivated along the way. So when the time feels right for you to take that risk, that's when it's time to walk away and say, that's it, I'm done. But it
Okay.
takes time to get there.
Okay. Now you said two things now. I'm thinking about one, but when you say the timing is right, now two things I gotta say. When you say the timing is right, what if that person don't know when that time is? You got those procrastinators out there or paralysis analysis and so forth too as well. And what if also too, the things that you just said, I definitely agree with you, but what if a person says is that's too much like, that's too much like right or easier said than done. And in that fashion and so forth. I remember when this comedian, I can't remember his name right now, but he was basically saying that it was a job that he had. He wasn't gonna leave. He was kind of already saying he was gonna do his comedy stuff while he was doing the job and so forth. But he was doing on the side, and they didn't want him to do it, and they were mostly wanting him to focus on what they got going on. And until he was just going, but they didn't ever. It was something he did, but they didn't ever fire him for it. And then eventually they let him go. So he was gonna still stay there and try to work and whatever. But he said that was his moment where he didn't jump, he got pushed out, so forth.
Hmm.
So you kind of said you got pushed out too. So, but going back to my first two questions is the timing thing, and it's easier said than done, you know.
Right. So in this comedian's case, right,
Hmm.
it reminds me of the story Bill Burr spoke of one time on a podcast. He's a
Okay.
well-known comedian now
Yeah, I
from
know
the
Bill Burr.
Northeast area. Yeah, I like him. So I think,
If it's a family, I love him on If It's a Family. I don't know if you've seen the adult cartoon. Okay,
no,
yeah.
no, I
Okay.
haven't, but I know he was in Breaking Bad.
Okay.
If you
I ain't
saw him
seen
there.
Breaking Bad. Okay.
Yeah, I saw him perform at Madison Square Garden in New York City to a sold out show, and it was off the hook. He was hysterical. But that to me is an example where Bill said he was in wherever Boston area. His friend and he were, I guess, drinking beer one day, and they saw some, I don't know, I guess, announcement of like a comedy hour. I'm kind of butchering his story, but ultimately, what they did, they were at a comedy club. They realized they could do this too, and they were going to give it a shot. And he took the risk. He said, "You know what? I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to enroll myself into this contest or whatever it was." And that was the bug that bit him that ultimately said, I think I'm good at this. And I think I really want to see this unfold for me. And then sure enough, yada, 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 there he is selling out Madison Square Garden. It's real. When you believe in yourself and you demand better and you know you could do it and this is fun and you're going to put yourself out there, you listen to that call. You listen to that, and if it means you got to supplement yourself for the time being, that's what you do.
Mm,
You have to create that plan for yourself. No one's going to hold your hand and do it. There's way showers like myself that could help guide you along the way, but ultimately you're in the driver's seat. So if you believe you're stuck and you're not going to go anywhere and fits and starts and it's just not going to work out, well then unfortunately it's not going to work because you believe it. You have to try and you have to fail, you have to try again. It's resilience. And that's exactly what I was doing. I'm like, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to put myself in a public speaking competition, which I did in Canada 2 years ago. Never gave a speech really, other than one or two times that were like one time for my softball team. And, next thing I know, I have 11 speeches now I've given. And now I'm really leveling up with my speaking career. That's dovetailing with everything else I'm doing with this launch. So it's just about taking the risk and trying and feeling it out. And is this right? Am I happy? Do I want to try this again? Am I going to give it a shot? That's where you find that courage.
Okay, gotcha. It's interesting with what you talking about the speaking thing. Like early on in my coaching career, I have been asked to speak twice, and yeah, I see your excitement. But my point is, when I'm tell you this story is the first time this woman she had a was it the first time she had a talk show here, a local talk show. She wanted me to be on her show for some reason. We was at the library and we just was talking. I guess she just took a liking to me and wanted me on the show. I did never like partake into it, you know. And the second time was when a guy wanted me to speak at this alternative school, and he wanted the students to basically see more than just the doctor, lawyer, aesthetic or people aspire to be. He wanted them to see there's other dreams and careers out there that people can be and so forth. And I talked myself out of that as well. I was like, okay, like what I'm going to talk about, what they want with me. I'm just starting out, and so it's a far drive. So I can't go out there, the gas and stuff like this. So I just talked myself out of it. And so fast forward coming around to what I'm doing now. So this technically a speaking gig, and also I had my first speaking gig online at somebody else network event. So that was cool. So
That is
went
cool.
full circle, yeah. But my thing is the fear is there. I think we are our own biggest critic, and we self sabotage a lot and so forth. And I think that's another thing that keeps us from going. So man, my thing with artists and entertainers, it's a little different though. So when you think about artists and entertainers now, like especially a music artist, they always got that stigma that this don't make any money. Going into it already crazy, like we already talked about before, but it's like very, you get out in with me being a musician too as well. Me going into it, I see the money that you got to spend on it before you even really get a whole big return back. So with that said, though, what would you say to artists in China? They going out, they might be working a 9 to 5, and they have this dream, but it's to people around them saying it's a pipe dream. They saying you crazy. The naysayers around them and so forth. Family members sometimes it's be in the let's say they be having your hearts is in the right place sometimes when they say you might can't do this, why don't you do this and so forth. But at the same time they hurting that person, projecting their own fears on that person and so forth. But what would you say to their support system around them and them stepping out there on their faith and jumping out there to do what they want to do, whatever art and craft they want to do? What would you say to that?
So you said it's projection. People project their fears onto others, and that's the naysayer, right? If you're an artist, there's a reason you want to be an artist. You feel the call within. There's a passion. There's this buzzing. There's this uncomfort. That's excitement. Like I got to do something. I got to create. I got to be. I got to, you know, write lyrics. I got to feel the music. I got to translate this somehow. I want to write in my case. I want to share. So I just got goosebumps. That's validation. That means that there's a calling that's saying, this feels right. This is my passion. And so why are you giving power to the external world that's projecting the negativity onto you? Why do they know better than you? That's where the question starts. I feel this is right for me. I know it. I can feel it in my bones. My heart skips a beat. I'm smiling. I'm excited. I'm willing to drive 4 hours to a gig. That in itself is an answer to the question. Give it a shot. Don't listen to those naysayers are sitting on the couch. They're Monday morning quarterbacks, right? They're not doing it and they don't understand it because they're not you. Right? And they're also sitting in their fears that are stifling them and keeping them back. So they're only talking from their experience, not your experience. So let your experience work in your favor. And ultimately, things are going to work themselves out. You have to believe it to be true. It's going to work in my highest timeline. That's what this awakening that we're going through now, I think, as a collective, is showing us that anything we put our mind to, we can achieve it. I know that sounds like a cliche, but it's the truth. It's energy, it's alignment, it's trust, it's belief in self. And if you don't believe in yourself, who else will? So if you're on stage and you don't believe you're enough or you don't belong there, what do you think the audience is going to say? Okay,
Right.
I agree. You're
Yeah.
telling me not value you, to not believe in you, to not celebrate your art. Okay, so I'm going to get up and go to the bathroom. Just let me know when the next act's here. Bill Burr stood on stage and he believed himself. The audience then said, "Sure, I'm aligning
Mhm.
with that moment. You're funny.
Yeah.
This is hysterical. Okay, tell me another joke." So that's what it is. It's mindset, and it's an alignment. It's an energetic alignment, and it's knowing that I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try it again. I'm going to keep refining it and cultivating it. I'm going to keep showing up, and I'm going to trust that things are going to work themselves out in a way I can't even anticipate. And that's with anything. That's with looking for a job. That's what applying yourself. That's traveling the world. That's getting on a plane to see something you never saw before. You want to live your life in a way where you can look back and say, I have no regrets. Or I'm so happy I had that experience, on your deathbed. I'm so happy I got to ride a camel in Egypt, right? Well,
Right.
do it. It's your life.
Right.
Get
Right.
it
Right.
done. Figure it out. Work hard at it.
Yeah, definitely. So it's one thing to jump, and we already said that it's hard work. You got to be consistent, but how do you be consistent and talk about that grind? Like when you started jumping out there on your own and so forth. Talk about that grind. How was that? Like, were there nights where you felt like you had to give up, or where you wanted to give up, or sleepless nights, or felt like crying, and you just felt like the world would just happen to you and nobody else and so forth. So let's talk about those moments.
So before I transformed or the transformation itself?
I would say before, when like I said, right when you started to jump, and then the transition to it and everything to where you at now.
Yeah, so I think to hit that breaking point, it's got to be pretty painful, emotionally
Hmm.
and otherwise, right?
Right.
Crying, being disrespected, not wanting to do your job, not like, oh God, I got to go on this Teams call now, or I got like some presentation I got to give. Like your heart's not in it, and you're just doing it for the paycheck, and you're just giving up your precious power. And you don't enjoy working with these people. I was like, what am I
Yeah,
doing?
I
Why?
feel you.
What is this for? Right? Why am I doing this? My life's precious. Why? Right? I think that's where it starts to get the uncomfortable kind of feeling like this isn't working. And either you're going to get pushed out or you're going to say, you know what, I quit. Something's going to happen. There's going to be a breaking point because that
Mhm.
isn't sustainable. And it shouldn't
Yeah,
be because then your health is at risk at that point too, right? Mental health and physical health, and you're not sleeping. And maybe you make a mistake. You're driving on the highway and you just fall asleep and then you hurt somebody, you hurt yourself, you destroy your car. You got to look out for number one, you. Number one. And when we lose that line of sight because we let the external world push us around and bully us and keep us enslaved and controlled and taking away our precious power, something's going to give. And so it's up to you to be your own hero in this story to say, I'm rescuing myself. And when you do make that bold, courageous leap, the emboldened leap, something becomes exciting for you now. It's like, all right, I'm prepared to give 12 hours of my time to write a book now because I want to. It's not work at that point, it's passion. It's delusional passion sometimes, but it's passion. I'm going to do it. This is my
yeah,
plan.
yeah,
I
yeah.
believe in myself. I want it. I see the ending. I trust that things are going to work themselves out in ways I don't anticipate, but it's going to help me, help serve me to get to my goal. And that's when you radiate the joy. That's the higher vibration instead of the lower vibration of fear, anger, frustration, exhaustion. You're now this like leveling up energetically, and that radiating joy that's coming from within because you have belief in self is now translating on stage. And now all of a sudden you're tapping into the muse, and the muse is helping you write better lyrics now. And all of a sudden, I got goosebumps. You now are magnetizing like a drummer for your band that was like an amazing drummer. And you start to put yourself in circles where you're aligned with people who are also, motivated and excited and empowered. And next thing you know, you've changed your circle, your social circle. You've changed your, professional circle. What do they say? Your network is your net worth. Right? So you surround yourself, the 5 people you spend most time with on a daily basis is who you surround yourself with is what you
Mhm.
reflect.
Right.
So change the people around you if it's not working. Find those people that are your tribe. And next thing you know, you may have something going here and you might get a big break. My favorite quote is from Louis Pasteur. It goes like this. Chance favors the prepared mind. What do you think that means to you?
Chance favors the prepared mind.
Prepared mind.
I guess basically when they say, always be pretty much ready for when the opportunity comes, that's what it's kind of sound like what is coming to mind when I hear that.
Yeah. You
Okay.
can't be lucky unless you're prepared for it. So how are you gonna get your big break as a performing artist if you're not practicing, if you don't have your lyrics, if you haven't gone through the struggles and the perseverance and, the support? And next thing you know, boom, you got an opportunity. So in your case for public speaking, maybe you didn't feel prepared yet. You had a lucky break, but it wasn't lucky because you couldn't take advantage of it. You gotta get ready to get yourself positioned for that lucky
Yeah.
break, and then you're off to the races, and then it repeats again. You level up again, you level up again. Next thing you know, you're at Madison Square Garden.
Right. And I think a little bit of what it was with me too, growing up, I was kind of quiet. I wasn't a very shy guy, but quiet. And I remember when me playing basketball, my coach was trying to get me out of that. And so I can play basketball all day and outside in the street, but when it would come to organized ball, that was a whole different thing. Learning that and then going into to the crowd and stuff like that. As soon as I get out in that crowd, my mind go blank. You know what I'm saying? So that was another thing. So I think all those traumatic experience from that, I think was coming into play with that as well. So me being a quiet person and stuff like that, not being around crowds and stuff like that. So I think that kind of made me hesitant to do so for. And then it's kind of crazy with me being a fitness coach. That's a very personable job. You got to talk to the person that you training. So it definitely helped me to get out of it even more and more as I progress and so forth. So I think that's what helped me. I said those tools I guess those blocks I was building up until this point in that sense.
Exactly, and that's what happened with me. So the 3 times I was out of work, because I was my own breadwinner, I had to look out for number 1, me, and I had an apartment, a mortgage, I had costs, I had I was every month I wasn't making money, I was my savings was dwindling in New York City of all places.
Yeah.
So, it was
Yeah.
important to find a job in the ways, back then when I was trying to find a new role. And so what happens, when you're in an interview, you start to get good. Right, you start to advocate for yourself. You start to get like, "This is why I want this job. This is why I'll, make an effective team member. This is why I provide value," whatever you say, but and then the rejections, right? You're getting rejected, rejected, rejected. So those rejections from those job interviews over and over and over again, I got good at interviewing. I got good at self-advocacy. I got good at finding what I really wanted, and the rejection just made me stronger. I'm gonna get back on that horse. I gotta do it again. And so all of that has allowed me to get on stage with a microphone in my hand
Hmm.
because it's easy to talk now. Because I was talking to strangers interviewing me and judging me and evaluating me and then saying I wasn't enough. Okay, try again. Okay, try again. Even the podcast that I'm doing, this is one of the reasons I'm on podcasts is because I'm preparing to market my book. And eventually, I'm going to have to be on stage to talk about my book. So, might as well get a head start in learning how to
Hmm.
communicate, to listen, to advocate, to get excited about something, and be authentic and genuine. So, you're right. We're both right in this example. Just keep trying, keep trying. And if you got a door closed or you got something that, you stubbed a toe in the process, keep trying because your joy, your drive is going to get you to that next step and you're going to learn from your mistakes.
And I think too, it's a question of do they really want it? How bad do they really want it? It is something they're just thinking about, something that sound nice, and for them to actually take action into it and see it through. You know, and once they get, and then too, if they when they get into it, they might say, okay, this is not for me. But I think too, if you won't know unless you try. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly. And the basketball analogy, right? Everyone says, "Oh, I can't be a basketball player. Everyone has to be tall."
yeah,
But you do have the Muggsy Bogues example.
yeah,
You
yeah,
have the John Starks example from back in the
yeah.
day on the Knicks, right? There are examples where you don't all have to be the cookie cutter.
Right, right.
There are examples of that movie Rudy, the football story, all right? Rudy.
haven't seen that
Yeah,
one.
you'll have to watch Rudy. That it's based
Okay.
on a true story. He played for Notre Dame football back in the day. This guy, his name is Rudy. He's kind of like the water boy, where all of a sudden they
Okay.
pluck him out of, he's not really a big player and they pluck him out and here he is like having his moment on the field. So again, like you got to believe in yourself and you
Hmm.
got to persevere and you got to want it. And that's where we come in to help encourage and inspire and embolden.
Right. So, what would you say for that person? Like I was saying earlier, what if that person like, okay, they may say they want to do this and they try it and then they may not like it. So, how do a person find their thing? Now, they might not like their job, they might not like what they're currently doing, but how do they find their thing, what they're good at? I see this problem with my son all the time. So he think like he think he's not good at certain things, and I'll be like, man, you gotta try stuff. But as soon as you pitch him something, oh, I don't want to do this, but well, you giving up on it before you even try it. So how do they find their yeah, how do they find their own thing? Oh, because a lot of
Well,
people like him.
the
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead. Go
no, absolutely. I love it. I love it because you have to try. And yeah, sometimes things aren't working out. Like, oh, I try to do this and I don't like it. Okay, good. That's good. You don't like it? Walk away. Don't do it again. Don't push yourself if you don't
Mm,
like it. One thing my guidance counselor told me a while ago when I was in high school, she said, you pick your, let's say, degree that you want to do, if you're going to college or your choice of study, wherever you want to go next, pick it on the idea of if I was independently wealthy, didn't have to work for money, and I'm independently wealthy, what would I do with my time? Because the answer is, well, you still have to live this life if
yeah.
money's not an issue.
Right.
You're still going to have to get up and you're not just going to sit around all day and let life just, you're independently wealthy. You could do whatever you want. So that should help guide at least the first part of that story. Well, I really like to write, or I really like to take photographs, or I really love basketball, or I don't know, I like to make things with my hands. Okay, so give it a shot. That should be how it dictates how to start discovering your passions and discovering what makes you happy and discovering what gets you excited about something, and then you learn and grow from that process. And I like to think about it this way. I always say, I want to take a machete to the jungle, an unforged path, right? I start slashing and I'm making my path. And now I actually have experience because I know where I'm going now. I made the path. But before, there was no path to be made. So that's with anything in this discovery. The more you kind of put one foot in front of the other and start experimenting, exploring, doing, learning, growing, you're now two steps ahead of where you were and where other people behind you are. Now they're going to follow your trail instead of actually jumping ahead and saying, no, give me the machete. I'm going to make the trail for you. No, you learn and grow with experience. So that's another thing why you can't let the external world boss you around and tell you what ultimately you should be doing. Because the external world doesn't know your path you forged and doesn't have the experience you just grew.
Hmm.
And that's where you need to realize that I value the experience I have and I could take that and leverage it to my best advantage. No one has the experience I have, and I can do something with this and I can believe in myself. So, experience matters. And you have to realize what that experience you have is and what makes you happy at the end of the day.
Right. So, what would you say to now? Hey, do you think that whatever you're passionate about should make you money, or shouldn't it not be about the money first? Because you got certain particular dreams and goals out there, probably not gonna make it. Like I was talking about the music, it's not gonna yield the most money out first. You had those monopolies out there that hit the charts and so forth, and then they not ready for it. And
Hmm.
then they kind of fall another year, 2 years down once that hype go down. So, what would you say to that?
So, what I would say to that are two things. One, I would say that thinking assumes that nothing changes, right? Because
Okay.
the only constant in life is change. And we know right now, today, in the now, everything around us is changing, right? Everything's starting to break down, fall apart, be redefined, right? AI's coming in. A lot of things
Yeah.
are disrupting everything we
Really
think we know. So the
fast.
world is going to be a different place in 5 years from now, two
Yeah.
years from now, tomorrow in some cases. So you're part of this change. You're showing up to life in a changed world. Why wouldn't the world bend in your favor to allow for you to come in and do what you want to do, as opposed to not it being a preventative, right? Oh, I'm not going to make money because no one, you know, will want me. Well, the world's changing. Maybe the world does want you when the world changes. Maybe you're going to be right there, ready at the right time to be that voice, that entertainer, because people are like, oh, hold on a second. I'm into this. This is new. This is different. This is novel. This person owns it. It's amazing. And then, secondly, I'll say, are you familiar with Rick Rubin, the producer?
Rick Rubin, describe some of it. Well, like what is do you do? Music producer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is that do sound ring a bell? What did he produce?
So he's well known. Long hair he has. He got a beard. He looks like a yoga guru. I think so. He produced Beastie Boys and a whole
Yeah,
bunch of like
Def Jam,
yeah,
Def
that
Jam.
guy.
Yeah, yeah.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was in his dorm at NYU producing music. So
Okay.
he was on a podcast circuit recently, and he just had a book that came out. And one thing he said, yeah, he did System of the Down too, one of their albums. One thing he said was, I'm going to paraphrase, but he makes music for himself, or he produces the music, he hears it out. Make the music for yourself. Don't make it for the audience.
Mhm.
Because if you're making it for the audience, you're selling out. You're not being authentic to who you are in your art.
Right.
So if you stand in your power, authentic you, being who you are, and you're singing to a crowd of two people, you're winning. Instead of conforming and being almost like a robot because you think you know what the crowd wants and you're going to deliver on it, that's not rewarding and it doesn't ultimately pay out. So that's his recommendation, and that's why he thinks that's his secret to success. He does things that feel right for him and his tastes and his views and his ear, and then you take a risk and say, I'm going to put it out there. This is what feels right for me. And if people like it, great. If people love it, even better. So those are the two examples, right? Like, know that things will change and can work in your favor, and you're going to strike when the time is right, and you're going to be a hit in a world that's now different. And know that you're doing it in authenticity, and that you're going to attract your fans because you're being true
Yeah.
to yourself and your art.
Right. Right. All right. So, would you say along the way when you made the jump, was it totally? I know my path for a lot of few years. I ain't really had nobody that like showed me how to do what I know now. But would you say you had like a mentor or some kind of coach, somebody help you with your business and getting across? Okay. So what would you say
No,
to go ahead?
no, because everything's within you.
Hmm.
Yeah, everything's within you. I mean, you can have people help you along the way, but no one's going to hold your hand and no one's going to do
Hmm.
it for you. We're too busy. Where everyone's focused on themselves. We don't have time to, you know, take 5 hours of my day to help you unless you're paying me, right, as a consultant.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I did. I had the vision. I still have the vision. No one owns my vision, and no one should be superseding with the machete, right? No one's going to take the machete out of my hand.
Right,
I am
right.
the one carving the path. And
Hmm.
yet I would love support and people to help me and guide along the way in the ways I could find where they're more, I guess, expert in certain things that I'm not good at. Like, for example, web development. Okay, I'll take on a web developer.
Talking
I
about
don't want to do
websites,
that. I don't know how to do
man.
that. I kind of know.
Don't get me
Yeah, like a
started on
website, for
websites.
example.
Don't get me started on websites,
Right.
man.
So, but you can
Yeah.
bring people along to, okay, well, you know it better than me. This is your business. You're really good at it. This is my vision. Help
Hmm.
me execute. So yeah, those people, those sort of people can help support as you grow and learn. But ultimately you're in charge of what you want, and you have everything in you to get to where you want to go.
Yeah. Well, how would they know that? So that's what I'm saying. Maybe they got that vision, but how do they like say they got the vision, but they don't know how to get there. So they don't know what they don't know. And like how do that cultivate that? So do they seek out somebody to help them with the vision? They still spearhead it, it's still their vision, they go for it, but they need some kind of guidance. Would you think that?
Well, you need plan,
Okay.
right? If you say I want to be a singer, okay, what do you know you want to be a singer. Do
Mhm.
you know what it takes to be a singer? Do you know, the first steps about being a singer? If the answer is no, then yeah, maybe seek out a mentor, a singing coach, I don't know, producer. Maybe listen to a bunch of Rick Rubin,
Right, right.
podcasts. Like start familiarizing yourself where you can from
Mhm.
others that maybe have done it. Read a biography, for example, and then you start to see some sort of path. You start to scope out. Oh, this is maybe a framework now. Okay, in order to be a singer, I gotta learn how to write music, maybe, or I gotta
Mhm.
learn what notes are, or I gotta like hear, maybe the piano tones. I had a singing coach one time when I was much younger, and I remember going into her house and she would just hit the piano keys. Some of our first sessions were hearing how your voice can mimic the way that the piano sounds to your ear. And then how do you stand? Where does it come from your solar plexus, your diaphragm, your breathing? And then she told me, every single person on this earth can be a singer. It's a
Really? I never
mindset.
heard that. I
So
never
at
heard
that
that before.
point, you're like, that's true. Absolutely. Anyone can sing. You
Mhm.
just got to practice. So
Okay.
ultimately, that singing coach isn't going to say, okay, this is exactly what you need to do. Now do it. You're in charge. So maybe that singing coach only showed you a little bit. And then you're like, okay, now what? I guess I want to find a band. And now I want to, like I said, put myself out there in these circles, in these tribes, of these like minded people. And then you just learn from what other people are doing. Okay, cool. That makes sense. No, this doesn't make sense to me. And then you start to pick and choose what your right path is to get
Okay.
you where you think you want to go. And then trust that things are going to unfold in surprising ways that you didn't anticipate too. So you leave room for the magic to help usher you along to where you can see the vision. But ultimately, you are that person driving the car there.
Basically, you saying on the job training, pretty much. You as you get it going through it, you learn it. You maybe have some guidance, and you may read this or see how this person doing it, heard how this person doing it, but you ain't really gonna know until you actually do it, and then you might say, "Okay, I like to do it that way," or "That's maybe not my lane," and stuff like that. That's what you're saying, right? Okay.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And who's driving? You're driving yourself,
Right.
right? My singing coach isn't on my back. She isn't micromanaging me.
Hmm.
I'm the one who wants that dream. I'm the
Yeah.
one who's going to see it through. I'm the one that
Yeah.
believes in myself. And therefore, I'm not going to compromise on my standards. This is how I sing. I'm not going to be a country music star. I want to be a pop star. I don't know. I want to play the violin. That's what I want to do instead. So you can decide what it is that feels right for you in the career that you're persevering.
Right. All right. Would you say it need to be outside of like the 9 to 5, or it can be in the corporate lane where somebody may have some lofty goal to be a CEO or something like that of their company and so forth? Or do you think it's really the they excellence would be outside of doing their own thing?
Well, why can't you have a job that teaches you?
Okay.
If like say, you find a job at a record studio, maybe you're an
Hmm.
admin. Maybe,
Hmm.
there's what I worked on Wall Street, as I mentioned, and there's always this story of the guy who started out in the mailroom at the bank,
Yeah.
right? The guy's in the mailroom and he worked his way up because
So
he
it
started,
was
right?
it was
So
I,
immerse
mean,
your,
I
so
want
change the job to start aligning.
my bad. I ain't know you finna
And if it
stop.
means you got to start from the no, it's
But
okay. If it means you're gonna start at the ground level, you're surrounding yourself with those like-minded individuals, and you're like, "Oh, I'm in the environment now. I'm getting a sense of what this is like." And especially when you're in the mailroom, you see everyone's mail, and you're like, "Oh," and then you get to go around the cubicles and deliver the mail, and you're like, "Oh, nice to meet you, so and so." Or start out as like an admin, right, an executive assistant. Try to get your foot in the door
right, right,
and start to be around, and now you're making money and you're like, oh, I see what's going on now. Like, for example, when I first moved to New York City after college, my full-time job didn't start until September, so I had a time in between a graduation in May and September, so the summer in New York City, and I had already got my apartment, so I had 4 months of rent I had to meet before I started making a paycheck. And so what I did, which is what I've done twice now, is I went to a temp agency
Okay.
And I
Yeah,
said,
I know about
I
temp.
need a quick gig, you know, right? I just need a quick gig to get me to where I need to go next. And this gig just happened to be at EMI Music Publishing in New York City on 6th Avenue.
Okay.
And I sat in the music industry. I was doing very easy, rote work of, going through documents. And so EMI Music Publishing, they own the rights to songs. And in this case, a long time ago, there are these requests for permission to use the music on, let's say, television show. And in this case, it was for American Idol.
Okay.
So if they wanted to sing someone's song, they had to get permission and then they negotiate a rate to use the song, and the show would pay the royalty for the permission to use the song. So as a temp opportunity, I was in a music industry right there.
Right. There you go.
Like I got my foot in the door in the music industry. I learned a little bit about the business. I mean, ultimately, I didn't take the role because I had my full-time job, but that's an angle, right?
Yeah.
You could find an opportunity to kind of learn and grow.
Yeah, I was just about to think that go back to one of my questions is like that's how you can figure out what you good at, so and temp agent might be that thing, So yeah, so you get paid while you're doing it. So yeah, okay. I like that. So man,
Exactly. And then when I worked at a bank, some of the admins and some of the people who worked in our there was a group that helped with our presentations. They called it the presentations department. Those people worked at odd hours. It was like a 24-hour sort of shift. They were making good money, but they were
yeah,
actors and
okay,
choreographers who were working in investment banks.
okay,
And they were great. I enjoyed meeting a lot of these people. Sometimes I'd get to go to their off Broadway show.
right,
He was working on my presentation for this company we were going to present to,
mm,
and then I got to be friendly with him. And he's like, "Hey, my show's coming out. You want to see my opening night?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So yeah, it can be done. The pays the bills, and then you find time where you're working maybe nights, but then you could pursue your career during the day. That is your aspiration.
right, okay. So now with them boating adventures, like so, talk about the adventures that y'all go on. Is it more so just traveling, or what else do y'all help people with?
So Emboldened Adventures is a platform where I have the books that are coming out on transformation and my personal stories of transformation. It's also the motivational speaking,
Okay,
and it's also a Be Emboldened program that I'm going to be launching, which is an empowerment program. And I
okay,
am a way shower, so I'll guide people toward, a goal and
okay,
transformation. So Emboldened Adventures, as I mentioned, started out as a travel blog. And now I'm about to relaunch it, rebrand it. And as that's happening, it's going to be aligned to my book launch. So, in the
okay,
time I walked away from my career, I decided to take a chance on myself. And I wrote a book. And now that book's coming out, brought in a web developer, brand advisor, publishing consultant, you name it, merchandise consultant, as well as a book coach and an editor. I found my people along the way, and now I'm about to launch this launch. And so in a few months, when you go on boldenadventures.com, you'll see the various call to actions that I'll love for you to explore. And if this is for you, come give me a call.
definitely. And I remember you were talking about, for the women out there in the workplace, how hard that was really working in the space of, a male dominated space and everything. Can you talk to that experience and like what made you persevere through? Somebody might not wanna, maybe they dream is in the corporate world, and like, well, how can they push through, and everything, and show that they
That's
got
a
what it takes.
long conversation. Yeah, it's a long conversation. Yeah, I mean, I've been working in male industries for a long time. I studied engineering. I got my MBA in finance. I worked in banks. I worked in these energy industries. It's about alignment, and it's about the job, and it's about learning and growing and finding the right mentors. To kind of have them take you under their wing. But sometimes it's hard. Being a woman in these industries.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's even harder being a single woman without children in these industries because it's its own kind of challenge as well. People tend to see you as an easy target and kind of the first one to like get laid off because they say, "Oh, everyone else has family." So, well, what are you doing? You're by yourself. You could easily land on your feet again. You got nothing to worry about. But so there's a lot of challenges with all that. But yeah, working in male dominated industries, sometimes you have to step up with your masculine side in some ways too.
Yeah.
You got to be a go getter. You got to be strong. You be confident. You got to speak up. You got to also have your elbows on the table in the conference room. You got to be confident. There's a lot there that comes with the territory because the men have a boys club, and sometimes you can break through, and sometimes you can't. But either way, you have a job to do, and you just hope for respect and support to get that job done.
Yeah, I mean, I was just speaking to that because I feel like, in no dominates, but you hear about the manosphere and the women, kind of going back and forth and so forth, and then, the guys saying the women are a little bit masculine, but you, in a sense, if you are in that field, you kind of have to kind of adopt that. So that's why I wanted to kind of speak on that. Like, if they really want that, that's kind of what it would be, in a sense like that or whatever. Because it's gonna be a dog eat dog world, I think, on both sides of the spectrum. Whether you're doing something on your own, or whether if you're a woman doing, in a male dominated sport, so to speak. Like I said, you got to, if it is something and again, I think it goes back to if it's really something that you want to do and you believe you can do it and exceed in it, then you're gonna have to grit and grind for it, would you say?
Yeah, and remember what I said. You are a reflection of the 5 people you spend most time with. So if you're spending time with the boys in the office, you're going to find that you're reflecting now the environment in some ways.
Okay.
A lot of us women have been told that we don't ask for raises and we
Hmm.
don't really stick up for ourselves when it comes to performance reviews. So those are two, I think, quick things to keep in mind, I think, is always say I want more when it comes to negotiating salary because men
Yeah.
always do it. Women
Right.
say the same thing. If they're going to offer you this much, say no, I want more. And then start negotiating before you sign, the contract to start the job.
Like
Men are
Monique,
going to say, yeah, I want more. I think so. I don't know Monique, but sure. That's what she does.
comedian Monique Anderson. She played not Moesha, but Monique Park, the Parkers. Have
The
you seen that?
show, the
Yeah.
show. Okay. No,
The one
I'm
that played
aware
the
of the
mama.
show.
The one that played the mama.
I think so.
Never
I think
mind.
so. Okay. Sure. I'm sure she's advocating for
Yeah,
herself.
she doing way more than that. But nah, okay, so it was like Netflix. It was two things. If you heard about the whole thing about her going against Oprah and Tyler Perry and
Good. She did. She stuck up. She
still
advocated
stuck
for
up, yeah,
herself.
for herself,
Oh,
yeah.
good. Good for her.
Um,
There you go.
and Netflix, she was thinking that like she wasn't getting paid what she was worth and so forth for a Netflix stand up special and so forth. And she was thinking, other people was getting paid more, so she was boycotting that and everything like that as well. So those, I just saying that
She
that
knows
came
her
to mind.
value.
Right.
She knows her value. And that's the thing. Like, you got to be bold in these corporate environments. Like, I want
Yeah.
more. I want a raise. And by the way, like, the dirty secret when we did our performance reviews was we gave ourselves like the best A+ rating. You tell me I'm not good. Like, you come in, don't tell you're not good on a performance review. I'm the best thing since sliced bread. Tell me I'm wrong. It's all negotiation, right? Because they're all going to rank you anyway with your performance. So why are you already saying I'm coming in as a moderate, below average this year? No, I did great. Because that's what men are going to say. I did great. And a lot of men apply for jobs that they're not even qualified for. So that's the difference. I think that's an example of working in a male dominated industry. You got to
Okay.
also think you're the shit and then tell
Okay.
me I'm wrong. I
Right.
deserve more. Tell me I don't, other than, oh, please pick me and take this position of not enough. No, I'm amazing
Yeah. Yeah.
and I
Definitely.
deserve the best.
Yeah. Cause nobody gonna give it to you.
That's right. They're
Yeah. I
definitely
got.
not going to give it to you. You
Right.
got to advocate.
Yeah. I got you. Okay. So now you talked about Emboldened Adventures. Now, what is the book about more so?
Ooh. So the book is part of a transformational series that's coming out, the Emboldened Adventures Transformational Series. So the first
Hmm.
book is the Awake and Radiate portion. The second is the Surrender and Adventure portion, which we talked about. I hit the brick wall and I decided to quit it all. And then the third portion is the Transform and Reborn. So the first book that's coming out is 100% true story from 2020. So this is my personal experience where I actually get laid off from my job. I was working in downtown Manhattan near Wall Street and Ground Zero, and I dared the universe. And I was already going to Morocco. And I said, if I get laid off, my friend invited me to the Amazon rainforest in Peru. I said to her, if I get laid off, I'll come with you, which ultimately, in a week of saying that, it happened. So the book is about me going from Morocco to the Amazon rainforest and then onward to Lake Titicaca, Bolivia, Tiwanaku, Pumapuku, the megalithic sites. And in this story, I work with the psychedelic plant medicine called ayahuasca, and it's a Mount Everest of psychedelics, and it's facilitated by the Shipibo wisdom keepers of the Amazon rainforest. So for me, I went from, corporate career, in the matrix person to working with this psychedelic that opened my horizons and really helped me see through the material veil and see infinite possibilities and really kind of change my mindset for the better, empowerment and spirituality. And then it shifted. I came back to New York City, and the world is shutting down due to coronavirus at that point. So I
Right.
left one way, I
Yeah.
returned a different way, and I
Right.
became transformed.
Okay.
So that's what this story is about. It's a very powerful story. I think it is the best first person account of working with psychedelics that you may find in a book. And I
Yeah.
stand by that statement. So,
Right.
what I
Right.
did was when I was traveling, I took copious notes in my journal. I took videos while I was there in real time. I took lots of photos, and I still remember the experience. And I'm so much encouraged and excited about this story that I quit it all to write this book. That's how powerful I think this story is. And then
Okay.
from there, I'm using that as a textbook for this transformational program that I'm
Oh, you doing a
launching. Because
textbook too? Okay.
it is a textbook in some
It's
ways.
okay.
We could use it as a resource for this Be Emboldened program to support transformation.
Okay. Next thing might be a school in like some kind of class or something like.
Well, I'm going to send you on an adventure because part of transformation, if you want to see the world, requires you to get on a plane
Yeah.
and find some courage in doing something you always wanted to do.
Yeah. And I heard that, once you start traveling, especially outside your own country, it definitely broadens your horizon to some things and change your perception and so forth. So that was what I was gonna ask you.
Absolutely.
That's what I was gonna ask you because you kind of alluded to it a little bit, like how many places have you traveled, and like you talk about the spiritual awakenings and so forth, and but like talk about some of the experiences that you had, like what happened, and so forth, if you may.
Oh, man. Well, 43 countries. I've been traveling for 28 years, so there's lots to talk about.
Yeah,
I've been to every continent except Antarctica.
too cold.
I've gone everywhere. Oh, it's expensive.
Okay.
And I think it's like twelve to $20,000 to be on that to that big boat. Yeah, it's expensive. I mean, and it requires time too. It's
Right,
definitely a
right,
commitment. You got to fly all the way to Patagonia, southern tip of Chile, and then get that boat over. So yeah, I mean, what to say? I mean, I've climbed Mount Fuji. I've climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
right.
I've gone scuba diving with great white sharks and whale sharks and wild dolphins. I've danced with the tango in Buenos Aires. I've been to Oman, which is like the movie Aladdin personified. It
Okay.
really felt like the cartoon Aladdin, but it was a real place and where the
Okay.
Sultan. Yeah, I mean, there's so many incredible people around the world, and the news, the media, what we see doesn't really do it justice. Even like China, like I went to China for 2 weeks in 2008 before the Olympics was there. They keep saying China's so scary. China's taking over the world. China this, China that. And when I got there, I mean, granted, a lot's changed since, but I was like, it's not what the world was telling me. It's not what CNN was telling me. It's very different.
Mm,
And there are good pluses and minuses about the Chinese country and the economy and how people live their lives that wasn't jiving with what the news and the newspapers were saying. So travel really does broaden your horizons, and it allows for whatever fears you have that were cultivated from, whatever you're listening to. It allows for those fears to be quelled because it's not what I thought it was. And I heard someone say one time they were traveling the world and they said, 95% of the people in the world are good people. And I agree with that statement.
Mm,
They're very hospitable people around the world. They're excited to show you their home. They're excited to they're very proud of where they live in certain cases. They're proud of their culture and they want to share. For
mm,
example, what my book talks about, we were in Lake Titicaca on the border of Peru and Bolivia. And on Lake Titicaca, there's these floating islands called Urus Islands. UROS, Euros Islands. And these people are not Peruvian and they're not Bolivian. They're their own sort of international body of water. And they are from Mongolian descent way back when, Polynesia and Mongolia. So they look
mm,
very different. Very, very dark skin, very, very kind of wide faces. And they learned over their generations how to build islands out of reeds of the lake. So they take the reeds that grow and they build an island on top of it using that. And they build
mm.
their houses out of reeds. So you
Yeah.
have these little homes with solar panels, all made out of lake reeds. And here we are showing up as tourists. And they were so excited. They were like, come see my home. Come hold my baby. Come try on my clothes. Learn here, this is what we do. This is how we eat. This is our food. This is how we make, the ground you're standing on. They were and here's some I'll show you. Give me 1 second. This is one of the things I embroidered, and I
Okay.
bought it. And
Yeah.
buying this, these sort of souvenirs,
Mm,
this could power their home for 6 months for the solar panel. So this is handmade. This is Wiracocha, one of the creator deities that the people, the indigenous people from way back, their ancestors believe. This is also in my book, so you'll learn about Wiracocha and
okay.
who he is and how he came in my visions. This person hand embroidered this on the
Okay.
island of Euros.
Yeah.
And I mean, amazing, right?
Yeah.
This definitely gives joy instead of being in a cubicle and
Yeah.
being miserable and being stuck in traffic,
Man, I already
right?
know. Yeah, I
But
already
yet
know.
these people are living off the land. They are very poor in relative terms compared to the average American. And
Mm,
yet they're so excited and they're happy and they're joyous and they have foreigners coming into my house and I'm proud. So you see a lot of that when you travel the world.
yeah, definitely.
It's really cool.
Especially like how, like with Africa, I heard that what they show us about Africa is not really how Africa is, and then vice versa. The perceptions they have of us is different because they see a little small version of us on the TV and all that stuff like that, and they think it's that way, and then we really not that way. And then I think that's vice versa and so forth too. So when you do travel, I would like to travel one day, but I heard when you do travel, you definitely see, the light gets turned on in a lot of different ways than what you were really taught or grew up and what you thought you knew.
Absolutely. And then all of a sudden you have this courage that you never knew you had.
And what do you mean
And
by that?
that's the part of courage, right? Getting on a plane, going
Okay,
to a
okay,
foreign land, stepping onto, a mountain, seeing, going underwater, snorkeling with dolphins.
right,
When you travel, there's new opportunities and new experiences in
right.
ways you never even experienced before. And that could be scary, but then all of a sudden you do it and you're like, wow. And again, it goes back to that example I was giving. You're on your deathbed, no regrets, and you could talk about that time you rode a camel in Egypt. It was a defining moment. You're not going to say, "Oh, I remember that time I did that report for my manager." Right?
Yeah, yeah. I
I'm
feel you.
glad I took the risk. And,
Yeah.
Egypt, Cairo is a bit of an unsafe city, but, you find the ways to get to that camel. You find the right
Hmm.
tour operator. You take the plane, you land, you get your luggage, right?
Hmm.
And then you go and you explore a new adventure, and then you have a picture of you next to a pyramid. How cool is that? It doesn't necessarily have to be Egypt. It could even be the United States, right? Like,
Right, right.
you come see me in Connecticut, or I'll come down to Mississippi, right? Like, I've
Yeah,
never been to
right,
Mississippi. It's very
right.
different from one another. Or out west, in North Dakota and South
Mhm,
Dakota. It's so cool out there. And I work a lot with the plain Native Americans out there.
mhm.
It's amazing. It's just learning about their powwows and their culture and how to build a teepee. And the importance of the buffalo. And we're American just like they are. And it's amazing. So it's important to get out of your comfort zone. It's important to get out of your little space and see what's beyond, your kind of barriers that you're putting upon yourself.
Yeah. Definitely. I think, like I said, it goes into like the reason your why. 'Cause I was talking with Cam on an interview a couple of days ago and so forth. It's like we have these internal blockers, he say, that keep us from doing. We know we want how to do something, and we know we want to do something, but we just have these blockers. And he was talking about ways to. I won't get into much what we talked about, but he was just basically saying, the ways to block it in so a certain way. But one of the ways that you were saying, is just really simply just do and and start going from there. So, so is there anything that that we haven't talked about today that you would like to discuss? We talked about a lot, but I feel like it's a couple things we could discuss more.
I think generally the theme is self empowerment, to
Hmm.
be emboldened, to do
Okay.
something that your heart desires.
Okay.
Why do you have to stay stuck? Why do you have to be miserable? You got to ask yourself that question. Why? Why am I allowing this to be the case?
Yeah.
And how
Okay.
come I'm not happy? How do I find my happiness that's real and authentic, not
Yeah.
fake happiness,
Right.
materialism, drugs, all that. That's not real happiness. Real happiness comes from within, and it comes from doing and persevering and trying and seeing what you're made of. So, that's the theme. Whether it's travel, whether it's finding a new career, whether it's, going out of your comfort zone in any way you think, jumping out of a plane, skydiving,
Yeah. Like Will
always
Smith.
there's a story.
Uh,
Okay, yeah, I mean, skydiving is a thing, right? Like, it takes balls to jump out of a plane, and if it's not something you wanna do, why not? Give it a shot. It's
yeah.
all
He.
about, trying to do something for an experience that you feel proud of at the end of the day. Will Smith,
Right.
yeah, what was he doing?
Yeah. Yeah. He jumped out of a he bungee jumped out of a airplane at the Grand Canyon. Yeah. It was a whole event. He made a whole
Whoa.
event out of yeah. Yeah, he made a whole event out of it, that where it was live stream, everything, stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah. But see, now the thing with him is he is different because he talk about that he hate being scared. So he go full force with whatever he's scared is so to break that fear. So I don't know what so that's something I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's something that's a different dynamic. Could you speak on that dynamic you think? Have you like maybe ran into somebody who just go gun ho and to everything like they don't have no care in the world and they just try everything and then this the stuff that seem to work out or because some people like I said fear stops people but fear makes him go. You see what I'm saying? So could you speak to that? Like 'cause I can think that that can be some way of emboldening or empowering or whatever.
Yeah, it's overcoming fear.
Uh-huh.
It's overcoming fear. That's ultimately what it is. And fear is what did John F. Kennedy say? The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Fear is a fake construct.
Hmm.
Fear is something where we already are projecting an outcome. We already say, "Oh, I know how it's going to be." I'm scared because I already think I know what's going to happen, but nobody knows what's going to happen. We're always in the now, right? We don't know what the future holds. Like I said earlier, we don't know. There's change. Change is the only constant. So change is always going to happen and change can work in your favor. So if you're scared of something because you think you know what it is to be scared of and you just already assume this is how it's going to be, well, then you're keeping yourself tethered to the ground. You're keeping yourself in a state of lack of action. So the only thing you have to fear is fear itself. You don't know ultimately what's going to happen. You don't. There's too many variables in this world to be certain about anything. And so if you're certain you're scared that it's going to be this way, then I think you're telling a lie in some ways. You don't know until you try. And then most times you look back and you're like, oh, that wasn't as scary as I thought,
Yeah.
right? So I think when someone who has no fear is someone who can say, I trust in the unknown. I trust in myself. I trust in the unfolding. And I trust this parachute or the bungee cord.
Right, right. Definitely.
It's a trust. It's like a trust
Yeah.
fall, right? You
Okay.
have to trust and you have to surrender to the trust. And then, but it takes work, right? And it takes some delusion. It takes a belief in self, right? Fear is what stopped you from getting on stage. And it's fictitious, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't real.
I mean, like I said, especially when once you like get into it and it wasn't like I said, it was online. I haven't did anything in person yet, but I was like, I was still nervous, just like I was in person. But when I got through it, everybody, they gave their praise and said I did pretty good and so forth. And I was like, I felt like I like, well, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was and
And here you are
everything.
talking about it, right?
Yeah,
Here you are
definitely.
talking about it, and you could talk about it, when you're 90.
Yeah,
I did it. I'm proud
right.
of myself. I overcame, and you're scared because you are like, "Oh, this is how it's gonna be." Right? In your head, I'm gonna screw up, everyone's gonna laugh at me, they're all gonna think I'm an idiot, I'm gonna be tongue-tied, and then ultimately it didn't happen, did it?
Yeah,
And then you get better, and you get better again, and you try again, and you're like, "Okay, this time around, I know what to avoid, or I know how to better prepare." You know? Another another favorite quote I have is from Abraham Lincoln, and it goes like this: "If I had 8 hours to chop a tree, I'd spend 6 hours sharpening my axe." Right? So preparation is everything, right? So if you're, "Okay, I gotta speak on stage," the rule of thumb is for every minute your speech is, you need an hour of preparation. So if your speech is 12 minutes, you need 12 hours to prepare. So then when it's go time, you're like, I got this. I already ironed out some of the kinks. I practiced in front of a television screen or camera. I played it back. I heard it over again. I tweaked what I wanted to say. I practiced maybe in front of two people. These are the places I'm tripping up. Maybe I should, think about maybe, things, memory cues to not forget this particular point. And then here you are, you're prepared now, and it's going to go easy.
yeah.
You've just axed out the fear.
Right. I think another part of it might be still a little bit of fear in there, depending on the person and so forth. I think another aspect of that is perfection. I know I kind of suffer with it a lot. I'm getting better at it now. I have gotten better at it now over the years and so forth. But wanting things to be in a row, all your ducks in a row and so forth before you take action on something, and then it never comes because everything is the guy you think everything got a line as soon as this happened. Oh, well, well, this can't happen unless that happens. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, you're gripping. You're trying to control the situation.
Okay.
You're gripping, right? Grip is where you think you have control and you could do everything in your power to make it perfect. But that goes against the surrender and the trusting in the unfolding and leaving room for the magic. Right? So again, by you gripping and holding and being prepared, you think you know the answer and you think you know how it's going to happen. It's the opposite of fear. It's like I'm certain that this is exactly what's going to happen. And so nothing exactly happens the way you think and nothing exactly happens the way you fear. So that's when you get comfortable in the now and you're grounded and you're confident in self and you know you did the best you could, being in the moment when the authenticity shines. I'm doing it right now, right? I'm being grounded. I'm speaking with confidence. I don't know what I'm going to say next, but I just know that I'm in the moment where I'm just going to continue to hold the space and do what I'm here to do is talk with you.
Definitely. I got you. Okay, cool. I like that. So I'm trying to think some most things. Thought like, so do you have it? Like, is there anything that we haven't discussed again that you would like to talk about?
Well, I don't know the weather. I don't know.
Well,
I
you
mean,
said
I
it's
think
cold there though.
it's a little cold.
Yeah,
November.
yeah. So in Connecticut, yeah, you way up there.
Yeah,
But
and you're way down there.
yeah,
But it's
yeah.
all good. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of change happening, as we know, a lot.
Mm,
And I think we can't fear the breakdowns around us. And we can't fear what the world is telling us is the truth, right? I think ultimately the truth lies with you. And the truth becomes more true when you experience and see for yourself what's in front of you. and making heartfelt connections. And then knowing you can weather any storm that comes your way, no matter how bad the storm is. So I think that is a good thing to keep in mind.
Okay.
You can't control everything around you. You can only control what's within you and what you want to do with your life. And yeah, there's a lot of changes happening, but I think the important thing is to find your tribe and come together and be in support.
I got you. Yeah, definitely. So outside of getting your book in and get your book done and so forth, and your emboldened adventures, like what do you see yourself in the next 5 10? The cliche question: where do you see yourself next 5 10 years? And what
I don't like that question, and
you
here's
don't
why,
like that
because they
question,
would ask that in interviews. Here you
right?
are in a
Okay,
skyscraper in Manhattan, like, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And you're like,
okay,
"Well, okay," because
okay,
we know that we don't know. We don't know what
okay.
the
Well,
world
take
looks
the
like.
time. Okay,
This whole yeah, I'm gonna answer your question, though.
okay. No, no. I want to. I want to ask it differently. That's what I'm saying. Take the time out. Take the time out. So, what do you see yourself doing, or what do you want to do more than what you are doing now?
Yeah. Well, I have more books to write. So what I'm doing right now is setting the foundation, and then I'm going to rinse repeat. Right. The first book comes out. I got the kind of support. I got the marketing. I got the avenues for sales. I got the speaking that I could leverage, and I got the program. And then I'm going to write another book, and then another book, and another book.
Okay.
So that's a focus.
Yeah.
Continue to grow my speaking opportunities. Continue to grow the business. Continue to travel, but also too, again, this wasn't on my bingo card, but I'll tell you what happened. Because I took the risk on myself without any game plan. I said, "That's it, I quit." I hit the breaking point in 2022. "That's it, I quit. I'm gonna write a book." No plan, but I figured it out and it continued to go along the way. And in doing that, you know what happened? I met a producer.
Okay. What
I
type
met
of
a
producer?
producer, television producer, and he saw something in me, an authentic something and an alignment. And now I'm his TV partner in getting his dream actioned. We're working on a television show, a
Okay.
travel adventure, true story,
Okay.
documentary, docu-series. And I'm now I'm going to be the line producer. So we're going to be traveling the world with shamans.
Okay.
And he liked a lot of what I could bring to the table in terms of my deal execution, working, in these office environments, these deals that I worked on. I could just apply those skills, those organizational skills, the kind of nuts and bolts of getting a deal over the finish line, raising capital, and being organized. I could apply that now to being a producer on location. It's the same skill set, but that wasn't on my bingo card. Next thing I know, I'm working on a television show. So hopefully soon we're going to be working on it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you
Okay.
never know what curveballs can come your way that work in your favor.
Hmm.
It's your story, it's your life, it's your illusion. You want to have it work for you, not against you, because you're the one in your driver's seat. You're empowered to follow your joy.
And I say too, once you start going into that direction, acting it this way and being this person or so forth, I think the world aligns to what you are doing and molds to what you are doing and give you that path. So everything that you learned and over the years and so forth cultivates to newer opportunities and that come across your way as well. Keep shaping that path. Right.
That's right. That's quantum physics. That's the manifestation idea. That's the law of affirmation. That's everything. And
Okay.
nothing in that equation says you have to ask permission from the external world,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And give your power away to the external world and take their opinion over yours. It's
Yeah.
all about magnetism and radiating and attracting and believing in self and not being in a state of fear or a state of lack. It's a mindset shift. So, exactly what you just said is exactly how I'm living my life now. I'm in control. I want to do what makes me happy, and I'm going to trust that it's going to work itself out in my best favor.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So, what would you like I said? We want to be respectful of your time and so forth. So, definitely. So, now, what would you say would be the biggest takeaway that people can get from this? What we discuss here today, being emboldened, empowered, and so forth.
Find what makes you happy. Feel what makes you happy. Feel it out,
Yeah, what makes you happy? Okay.
right? Feel it out. Like, I really enjoy this. Okay, explore it. Give yourself permission to dare to explore something. That's ultimately the takeaway.
Okay. Okay. All right, cool. We definitely gonna end it there. So shout out again, all your socials, your sites, your projects and everything.
Yeah. Emboldened Ventures, you'll find me on all social media, and the book will be coming out. So once the website gets relaunched, hopefully in another 2 months or so, all the information about my book will be coming. The book's called Stone Temple Passport: Awake and Radiate with Mama Ayahuasca.
That's a long title. You got another book for that?
Stone Temple Passport.
Okay. All right, gotcha. All right, cool. And you said it's on emboldenadventures.com?
Yeah, well, right now, no. It's the old website at the moment. It's a
Okay,
placeholder. The
okay.
new website will get launched soon. But you could sign up for my listserv, put your email in, and you could be first to hear the latest updates when they come.
Okay, cool. All right, so I appreciate you for coming, and definitely will be excited to hear about how Emboldened Adventures goes. And I want to hear how
Thanks.
that book turns out and so forth. Maybe have you back again. We talk about it, and once you don't start new adventures like that TV venture that you got going on and so forth, I believe that'll be an interesting topic to talk about too.
I think so, Trey. I'll keep you
Yes, sir.
posted for sure.
All right,
Thank
cool.
you.
All right, sounds good. So I said we'll end it here. I'm your host, Trea Da Fit Artist, and my guest, Sara Roccisano. We out, y'all. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. If you enjoyed it, be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. If you're looking for fitness coaching to help you reach your goals, want to join our animated network for fitness guidance, collaborations, networking, and community, or are interested in being a guest on the show, check out the links in the description. Stay creative, stay fit, and we'll holler at you next time.